So Mando is going to get teabagged today. So I'll come to that in just a minute and why he's getting teabagged. But first off, people have asked when I'm not masking off and you clear coating, is it a problem for painting on top of? Yes. So where I've like clear coated all of this area, and now I need to paint these. They are going to be a little bit shiny because obviously you've painted over the primer. So all I do with things like that is I just tip out a little bit of enamel primer, and I just use one of these cheap brushes just to paint over it. It doesn't have to be solid or anything like that. You just giving the paint something a little bit more to stick to. But I'd sooner just take I mean, this is like what? Probably 2 minutes of my time to do this. If I was to have masked this off, it would have took longer than 2 minutes. So I'm just going to leave that to dry. I need to clean this now with an enamel cleaner. That's why these bottles are so handy on Amazon. That I get from Amazon. Okay. So tea bags. They work great for adding, well, for aging stuff. So if you've got anything that needs aging that's white that you want to make look old, works great for that. You just have to just keep putting it on because it fades quite easy. So it's very translucent because it's tea, so it doesn't dry that colour. So when you first put it on, it looks really strong, but it won't. It will dry about 5 shades lighter. So it can take a few coats. What you can also do with this is, if you just take a brush and take the liquid and just sort of dab it into the corner of your parts and let it run along the edge of the parts, when it dries, it dries to like a dust, and it looks like that dirt and grime that sort of gets blown into corners of buildings and stuff. It's really, really effective. This is what I used on the Darth Talon base. So, and the reason why I've done that in this one is because Mando has like a translucent-y, desert-y, yellowishy look to his armour, because it's where all the dust is sprayed on it and the rain or whatever that's landed on it. It's not clean. Like, there's only a few areas that, because I've gone back and watched it over and over and over again and screenshotted loads of it, you can see reflections coming through some parts of his armour, but at this stage where he's on the speeder with Grogu, it's just before he gets string where they put the wire out and it gets flung off. So, but it's not, I don't think it's before he's killed the dragon, so he's not got the green blood over him, but he has got a lot of dust, dirt and crap. So for that, I've poured some of the tea into a spray bottle, and all you do is you're just gonna and it's going to create that effect for you, and you just leave it now. And because it's tea, it's going to be a little bit sticky, so you're just going to go over that with a bit of clear coat. But if you don't like it, you can always just wipe it off, because this is diamond clear coat that was on there originally. So it's also going to run around any of the grooves in his armour, and it will settle. So I am going to use a sand wash on Mando when he's done, but I just wanted to show you this first because it's a really cool way to dirty armour in that way. So because it looks like rain's landed on it, I guess, which is kind of what you want. You don't want to look like you've just done it with a brush. So I'm going to put him on the stick. The reason why I didn't put him on the stick originally is because I didn't want everything to go to one side, like to the front. Right, I'm just going to dab some clean areas. You can see this. I had to turn off the autofocus. I'm going to take this. Where's my phone? Stick this in one of the blocks. I'm going to put this to one side to dry. So that's how you add that dingy effect and the translucent weathering effect to his armour. And the reason why you have to use a spray bottle as well is because if you was to just try and paint it on, because this has got that really nice shiny clear coat on there, it's the diamond wet look finish, it's going to, anything you try and paint across this or paint into these edges, unless you put it on as almost neat, if you put it on as a wash, it's just going to repel. It's like putting water, trying to paint with water onto glass. It's never going to work. So that's why I like the spray bottle technique. Also, when it misses the Beskar and lands on other stuff, it's going to dry translucent. So that's the other benefit. So you don't have to be too careful. Obviously you don't want to just gun-ho all over the place. But at the same time, it doesn't matter if it does go over, because the rain and the dust and crap wouldn't have just landed on his Beskar. It will be on or everywhere. So you can just go to town on it if you want. Because I am going to go around this model with a lot of this sand wash, which is another Villaggio, and it's absolutely awesome. I've never seen it before because I've never done a desert model before, but you realise how handy it's going to come in, because it doesn't look like sand. It's just like dirt that gathers up in the corner. So whereas I can use a tea bag for a darker tone, I can use this for a lighter tone, and it stains really well as well. So you can build it up as the sand colour, and then if you just take a wash and just add a dab to the same area, it's just going to run all the way along this and turn it brown, so you end up with brown dust or whatever. So, and then it really does look like the crap that builds up in the corners and stuff. Like, I'm trying to think of another example with it. I always take like pictures of stuff, like when I'm walking up the street, if I see something that's really rusty and looks really corroded and cool, I'll just take a couple of pictures with my camera, with my phone, because it's good to go back for like references and stuff to make things look real. So yeah, that's definitely one of my new favourite washes. So before this paint dries, I'm going to do his hands. So I've already gave him a base coat of light yellow, and now I'm going to go over with a dark yellow that's almost orange. I just add a little bit of water in there, and the reason why I'm using water and not proper airbrush thinner or medium is because I want to break down the paint. I want it to be easier to remove when I wipe over it. And it will also take longer to dry with the water than it will with the airbrush medium. So if I'd have thinned it with the airbrush medium, it would dry quicker, which will make this weathering technique or aging technique a little bit harder. Not sure how well it's showing up, but you can see that this coat, this darker colour is running into all the gaps. And this won't be the only coat that we do with this, it'll be multiple coats because we're going to wipe most of it off. I'm sorry if it goes off camera a couple of times when I'm painting it, it's just that you have to get into these angles and I don't really want to get paint everywhere. So now I've done that one, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe over it. And you're pulling down, you don't want to go sideways because it's going to wipe the paint out of the grooves. So down and it's going to catch. And you only want to take the top area, so we've left it all around the edges. So. And don't worry about the odd bit that goes over. So it's starting to look good now. Right. A couple more coats and they'll be about ready. Someone that's probably going to notice this broke off. One thing, this is going to happen when you people think that resin's strong. It's not. It's very brittle, much more brittle than FDM printing. But it doesn't bother me. Don't worry about it. It'll stick back fine. Just a little dab of super glue. And all you do is if there's any glue showing, you just add a dab of rust texture over the top, or a bit of paint, and then bring it back off again. And it'll just blend right in, no problem. I think almost every model that I've posted has been broken multiple times. I'm actually going to be doing a video on how to repair fully painted models because my cat Smudge decided he wanted a close-up of Darth Talon himself and decided he was going to jump onto the shelf, and he knocked over Darth Talon. And she landed on Mumra and he landed on Batman. And the cat looked like he just crapped himself. But it's not a big problem. No, it'll take about an hour to fix. Also, so I'm going to do this wash for him now. I'm going to use a bigger brush. So this is just a wash that I've made myself, which one is this? This is leather brown with a touch of oak brown, and it's about 50-50 mix. I don't know whether this one's going to be correct or not. If you ever get a little bit that doesn't want to come off, it's a bit stubborn, you can just use a wipe. If you're wondering why that scraping noise, that's the drift. So when you're airbrushing, the paint lands on other areas, and if you don't wipe it off when it first dries with one of these, so you have to go around the whole model, if you miss an area it can build up quickly and it can be a bit of a pain. I mean, these undertones, shadows aren't really necessary as well because they're completely hidden on the underside. Because your face is away from you, so and anyone that's noticed that is Stargate in the background. I don't like silence when something's completely silent, it feels weird. This is just a slightly darker wash. It's just to bring out the details on his mouth. I'm going to do around his eyes and stuff. And that's looking good. So yeah, those tones just makes things pop out a little bit more. I'm going to go over with another colour soon. Another good technique for this sort of model is to let it puddle. So if you leave a puddle of this and then wipe that, soak up some of that puddle, it'll use like tea stain sort of thing. If you add enough of that up, it can be quite a cool effect. But when people say how do you make them look so real and stuff, this is how you do it. It's just layers on top of layers on top of layers. Do the inside of his ears. Now I'm going to move on to Mando's armor. Like the model does most of the work for you. It's like you just line the paintbrush up with the groove and let it do its thing. Obviously if you're too heavy handed it's going to slip away, but in general just let it do what it does. Always one bit that you miss. I think we'll leave that one to dry now. Just run down his spine. Bloody tail. That looks good. It's good enough for me for now. Let's dry. This one here is a dark tone wash. I normally don't use these washers because I just don't like them. They're just too runny. I think they're crap. They're okay just for adding those extra little dark areas. Like I'm just going to do typical. I'm going to do one of these, that colour. Do a little bit up here into this corner. And I'll just show you what I mean by repelling, paint being repelled. It's hard to explain. It's just like when it rains on your car, I guess. It doesn't stick anywhere near as well. I don't think these washers are just very strong, colour-wise. I find I end up having to give it multiple coats. We're going over all this with sand dust anyway, so but this is just to bring out those little details. When you mix charcoal with water, you get a black liquid, obviously, but it's not going to separate. I mean, it's not going to mix. What it's going to do is it's going to make a black dusty water, which is good for doing exhaust, like um, jet engine exhaust and stuff, or tanks and stuff like that. So obviously having that undercoat of black is now really starting to come into effect. I just want to break up that top edge so it's not so sharp. There we go. You don't want to wipe it out of the groove, you just want to spread it into the grooves. I used to spend ages getting it into the right spots, and then you wipe it all off and you go, what? So if we're painting down, you want to wipe that way. This is also going to be brown as well. So again, it's just another layer that you're putting on. Because when I wipe the brown off, it just means that in some areas there'll be the black still there. So I'm just using the tip of the cloth just to get rid of any hard edges. If you ever worry, like, say that you're making a mistake or you're taking too much off or putting too much on, just keep going. Just keep painting it, keep going. I used to, if I went wrong, it would make me want to start again, or I'd go back and start repainting it again, and you can get in a right mess when you start taking paint off and start doing that sort of thing. I'm not going to be doing the whole model with this, it's just the odd area. And this is what I was saying in the other video, where it don't matter if you don't marry the edges up 100%, because this black will just cover that. So pull across. And there we go. I'm just going to get this stitch in here. Perfect. Just running along the edge of the arm. And I'm going to do his legs in part 2. I'm going to break these videos up because they take too long to upload. I mean, I've got a good upload speed, but if you upload a video that's 2 hours long, you have to wait ages for it to be validated and stuff, and I can't like share the link as quickly, so I just want to bring out this line here. So that's that for now. Why is wet? I'm just going to spray his best. See all that tea colour. I'm going to take it off. Like, if you just try and spray that effect on, paint that on, it's not going to work. I have painted it on models before, but you're not going to get the effect that you need for this model doing it like that. So this will all just dry. You're not doing anything crazy to your model. It's just tea, bit of coloured water. But once that's dry, I think you'd agree that's really effective. I need to catch his hand as well. It's just because he's in the desert, so I'm going to do the same on his jetpack. I'm just going to take some of it off. Like I say, most of this is going to dry transparent anyway. And any bits that you miss, it's just going to add that extra layer of texture that extra layer of colour to the model. It's not going to ruin anything. I keep an eye on it when it's drying. Just so that if any areas do puddle up, you can just give it a little dab with a bit of tissue. It really don't take very long to dry anyway, so I'm just going to leave him here to dry. I'll just spray his legs as well so I can leave this to dry. And on the next video I'll be doing the charcoal dust wash, which I'm going to show you quickly now anyway, but leave it there for a bit. And that's the charcoal, which I'm not sure if it's going to show up on the camera. You can see anywhere where the water goes, it leaves like little black grains of pigment, microscopic, because this is air float charcoal, and it only takes the back end of a spoon to do this, to make that mix up. So you can see all the little dust particles and dirt particles. That's what's going to be going in the spray bottle next.